real question parents need to ask is, who do I want my child to be? The most simple way to start is to quite literally be the person you want your children to be. It is the most simple input-output scenario. It's the most simple math equation. It's the most simple way to do it. But for many men, it comes with all the work on top of that. Okay, cool. Then what does that mean for my own personal psychology and rewriting all these BS stories I've been telling, myself about myself over the last 30, 40, 50 years of my life, right? And then I got to step into how I'm treating every single person in this household, wife, children, everybody else around us. I've got to step into, my own physical body and actually care enough about my physical health. I got to acquire the skills of, financial acumen. How much do you dive into a spiritual pursuit? And I'm not talking about just going to church. I'm talking about an actual pursuit. You're actually diving into all these things with intentionality, high degree of effort. And when you can do that, you can become that person. The most simple way to have those kinds of people grow up in your household too.
What's good, brotherhood? Welcome to this episode of Uncommon, the Dad Work Podcast. This special Patriarch Live that I'm bringing to you from Instagram Live with Matt Beaudreau as we build towards the Patriarch Summit, which is coming up September 11th, 12th, and 13th, where we're putting in the work necessary to revive fatherhood, family, and moral leadership, helping men on the 6 fronts that most of us are struggling on, at least one of them, if not multiple at the same time. That check engine light is on, but most of us are ignoring it because we have a mission to complete. When we ignore it, that check engine light starts to blink, something shakes, something breaks down, and we can't have that, especially when our whole family is depending on us. Those are the fronts of self, our own physical, mental, emotional health, our marriage, our money and finances, our fathering, our leadership outside in the world, as well as our faith. September 11th, 12th, 13th can have amazing speakers. You got myself, Nate Feathers, my best friend, Dads Don't Babysit, Ryan Mickler, Matt Beaudreau, Pat Barber, Mike Salemi, Daniel Gross, Gabriel Mira, Steph Allen. Absolute star lineup. Today, though, I'm bringing you a preview from Mr. Matt Beaudreau. And if there's something in this that resonates with you, well, I hope you see you at the summit. $17 to join. It's nothing. It's nothing. You could go buy a cheeseburger with fries for as much money, and that would not change your life. It changed your blood, not your bloodline, though. $47 for VIP if you want the recordings for life. You want access to the giveaways from the speakers, the sponsors, and access to the brotherhood for the upcoming year. But I'll stop talking now. I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Matt Beaudreau. Welcome, sir.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. Good to see you in the Morpheus chair.
Morpheus chair, man. Yeah, I like to, I got this antique store around the corner. I had this Rad Eagle over there too. So
I love it.
It's like my favorite store out here, man. It's like this 3-story antique store called Mantiques. And it's just got the coolest stuff, man. And so I saw this old leather chair and I was like, man, I gotta grab that. So
I love it. Antique stores are always treasure troves. Often. Not always. Often.
Yeah, there's some great stuff, man. It's like a 3-story deal. I think they got old cars, they got old magazines. They have old barbershop chair, like furniture, and it's always something different. They have old phone booths, like it is just a rad place to go, man. It's kind of nostalgic, stuff way before our time, and it's so nostalgic, man. It's really cool. It just reminds you of simplicity,
Mm-hmm. It's got to be awesome to have that stuff in your office space too.
It's interesting, man, how I learned a lot from Tanner Guzzi. Became a good friend of mine. We did an event a while back. I threw a TEDx and I had him come out and do that, but we did an event together, he and I, and it was like Jack Donovan and Stephen Mansfield and Ryan Mickler and John Lovell and Bedros Koulian and Ray Care, and just a whole bunch of really, really good guys. But got to spend some time with Tanner and Jack, and the two of them really did a great job at this event, reminding all of the men how much your environment matters, right? And how much that just plays into your own mindset. And so it was very interesting. Like they were really presenting like beauty, why beauty matters, and how much that uh, influences how we show up. And so even just having a corner of the office that's got something interesting and unique and old and wiser than me just by nature of its design is a pretty cool thing, man, for sure. It's humbling. It reminds me I'm not that, none of us are that cool. There's a lot of great people that came before us that can do amazing things, and so I don't know. There's a humility that comes with it too, man. So yeah, it's cool.
Hmm. Yeah, I was just looking at some stuff this morning on the difference in just architecture.
Yes, sir.
Not even old world, but how we used to be, even when I was when I was a youngin versus now, versus the modern architecture. And there's such a different feeling, and there's such a different meaning
Mm-hmm.
to it.
Very much so. Yeah, there's intention, right? There's intention. I think that's something that, and again, I know we're jumping right into like a philosophical statement on this, which I'm not intending to do, but I do think there is something to that. I think I don't want to be the old guy that's like, oh, back in the day, there used to be more, but you can see it. You can see it in architecture. You can see it in the way people dressed. You can see it in the way people spoke. There was intentionality there. I'm not, pretending that everything was perfect back in the day. I understand that that's not the case, but there's something to that. There was intentionality with the way people lived and designed things versus just trying to go, okay, well, we're too cool to care, kind of thing, which is an immature mindset that I think, unfortunately, culturally, not everybody's obviously grasped onto that, but a lot have. So it's kind of cool to bring some of that back, or at least acknowledge what's there.
Yeah, we've been desiring and beginning to move that direction in our house
Yeah, it's cool.
lately with
What?
like, I want to bring back some painted ceilings
Yeah,
and maybe even some wallpaper on the ceiling, some more ornate things.
yeah,
It just brings a different feeling to it. And bringing in those dark colors, it felt so much like a hug. It's like,
yeah. That's cool, man. That's why I mean, and we all know this intuitively too. I think back to my room when I was a kid, and I was a big sports fan, and I had posters everywhere, right? Growing up in the '80s and the '90s, and I had posters everywhere. I had athletes, I had Michael Jordan on the wall, and just my entire wall. I remember one entire wall in my room was covered with posters or pictures I ripped out of Sports Illustrated, whatever, right? And you couldn't see the wall itself, and it was just covered in all this stuff, which is cool but it screams I'm a kid, you know, that doesn't scream life experience. It is indicative of the mindset of the life stage you are in. And so if we extrapolate that a little further, when we take a look around what our surroundings are now and how intentional we've been with our surroundings now. Okay, cool. What life stage are you in? What do you exclaim into the world? Where's your mind? There's a piece of that's showing there. So that's cool, man. I'm excited for you guys.
so on this topic of intentionality,
Yeah.
and I think this meshes really well with what we're doing with Patriarch as well. How do you see this tying into what you intend to bring to the table?
Yeah. Um, the topic in and of itself, obviously I know you and appreciate you and respect you and love what you do and love your work and how you show up to things and a handful of the guys that are speaking, I know them and same thing. A couple of the guys I don't know, but I know they're doing similar work, and so that's amazing. Um, but the topic itself, being a patriarch, the root of I always like to get back to definition of terms, and so the root of that is literally just it's the male leader, it's the male figurehead, and there's a lot of pontification about male leadership, good, bad, otherwise, that happens now. But I really want to just come talk about the simplicity of it all. I think we overcomplicate things, but we overcomplicate, I think, because we're distracted. I'm not saying I'm not saying it's easy to lead a family, but I'm saying it's pretty simple. And that's really what I want to do is get back to just sort of definition of terms and go, okay, this is how simple it can be to lead a family and the importance of that. I've gotten to do uh, been blessed to do a lot of amazing things in the education space and to work with so many families and so many young people. And I want to talk about the importance of not just leading well, but leading well because you are raising the next generation of leaders. And if we want to sit here and go, oh, well, where are all the kids these days? Oh, cool. That's on us. Like we get to pick we get to pick the environment they're in. We get to pick the things they see that don't see, the things they do, they don't do. Like we have some control over that and not in a manipulative way. We have control over that in terms of like we could set up a really cool environment to make them even more amazing than we could ever hope to be. So why don't we do that? Like the answer of how do we get more leaders is my head pretty simple. You raise them. And that's really what I want to talk about. Because I've done so many things poorly, Rob. So many things poorly. I've made so many mistakes. But one of the one of the greatest accomplishment I can think of right now is the way my wife and I have raised the three kids that we have. There's no such thing as perfect. We are not perfect parents. They are not perfect children, but they're amazing humans. Subjective, yes. Objectively, yes. And I think it's the best thing it's the best thing that's the legacy that I actually leave. So that's what we'll be talking about, man. I'm excited to do it.
So you've made mistakes. We've all made mistakes. I'm still making mistakes.
Daily.
Daily.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see men and parents making?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that question very much. The do as I say, not as I do, to me is the biggest mistake. And while it's not necessarily said explicitly in every household, it is example in many households. So I spoken to enough fathers over the course of the last, really 20 years in education and but explicitly these last 5, 6, 7 years as I've been building what we've been building. There are so many things that they want for their kids. They have best hearts. They want so many things for their kids. And they use words like, I'm struggling to raise this, young man or this young woman, or I'm struggling. And I don't like that because struggle, if you really look up the definition, is like to work violently against restraint. And so sometimes that violence means I have to violently attack my own hypocrisy. And I'm not necessarily willing to do that. That's what I've seen over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. So they say they want all of these things for their kids, and they genuinely do. I believe that, but they're not willing to become the version of the person they want their kids to grow up to be. And it's the most simple way to start is to quite literally be the person you want your children to be. It is the most simple input output scenario. It's the most simple math equation. It's the most simple way to do it. But for many men, it comes with all the work on top of that. Okay, cool. Then what does that mean for my own personal psychology and rewriting all these BS stories I've been telling, myself about myself over the last 30, 40, 50 years of my life, right? I got to undo all. And then I got to step into how I'm treating every single person in this household, wife, children, everybody else around us. I've got to step into, my own physical body and actually care enough about my physical health, not to, buy into this cultural nonsense of like, well, if your biceps are big and you got a six pack, your life's going to work out well. That's garbage. That's BS. The guys that are selling you that are selling you a bunch of snake oil. But you being healthy matters because you're sticking around for your family. So cool. Now I got to unpack that. I got to acquire the skills of, financial acumen and how do I make money to support the family. And that's, again, doesn't have to be, it's not got to get to seven figures and no, just how do you make sure you can support the family? How much do you dive into a spiritual pursuit? And I'm not talking about just going to church. I'm talking about an actual pursuit. Again, not playing pretend, right? A struggle means you're actually diving into all these things with intentionality, high degree of effort. And when you can do that you can become that person, the most simple way to have those kinds of people grow up in your household too. So that's what I see the biggest mistake being is it's a whole lot of this. I don't see the actions that match.
You brought up who it's our responsibility to become the person that we want our kids to be.
Yeah.
Who do you want your kids to be, man?
Right. That's the question right there, by the way. And I know I'm going to get philosophical on this too. And this is me being in education for 20 years. So I apologize in advance to everybody, but that's the question. It's not, there is a baseline that we can all argue about of who should everybody be, like that fundamental standard, that fundamental baseline. But the real question parents need to ask is, who do I want my child to be or my children to be? And you don't have to agree with society. You don't have to agree with everybody else. You don't have to, like, that doesn't have to be that. And parents, in my experience, don't love that because they want the PDF that gives them step 1 through 10 without having to make a decision for themselves. But that's what you got to do, is make that decision for yourself. And it comes with all kinds of stuff included, man. It means, who do I want them to be right now, by the way? Not just who do I want them to be in the future. Who do I want them to be right now? And then what opportunities do I want them to be in the future, right? It's the whole prepare the child for the road versus the road for the child, because you can't control the road kind of thing, right? So it's leaning into that right now. So right now, who do I want my children to be? I want them to be kind people. I don't want them to be nice people. I want them to be kind people. I want them to treat others very well, with respect, with manners, but understand that they're not going to get walked on either. And that doesn't mean you fight back against everything. You just walk away from what doesn't, what's not going to be changed on that. But you're kind, you treat other people well. I want them to have a work ethic. I want them to understand that anything and everything is available. Opportunities are available, but there are no shortcuts. We're not expecting that. We're going to put in 10 times the effort that we think we should to go create the outcomes we want. I want them to want to serve people, not because it sounds trendy or because, there's something forcing that, but because you understand that in serving people, sure, you tend to end up having a way to get taken care of yourself too, but it's in the DNA, man. You actually feel a whole lot better when you're taking care of other people. It's the most selfish thing you can do, to serve other people truly with an open heart like that, because you'll get so much more back, right? So I want them to be that person that wants to do that. I want them to be physically healthy. I want them to think their way through anything, because most people will not, which means I want them to think about things, and I want them to examine the opposite of those things. And I want them to take a look at the other angles of those things and other perspectives of those things. And not because I want them to adopt a billion different perspectives, but because that's how you actually make a decision. So I want them to be those people. I want them to be emotional ninjas, meaning understand emotions are a good thing. They're a God-given gift, but they also can be something that controls you if you don't control them or decide which ones you want to use. Right? In what scenarios. I want them to be those people. I want them to be the people that appreciate what's around them and do all they can to eliminate unnecessary distractions, because this world provides more and more and more all the time. And one of the quickest ways to add opportunity in grown-ups' lives right now, but for sure in our kids' lives, and I think this will only be more true in the future, is to avoid unnecessary distractions. With all the tools that we get on a daily basis now, it comes with more distractions. Some of them people, understand what the distractions are and stay away from those. So that's who I want my kids to be right now. So I got to be that guy too.
Mm-hmm. So one, we have to be those men. You have to be that man. I have to be that man for my little guy who's saying bye to mama over here. How will we create the structure intentionally beyond that in order to move them in that direction, other than just being that ourselves? How do we create the structure for those qualities to take root?
Yeah. I mean the structure on that in your day-to-day life, it is the who in my mind. It is the who first, and then the what. So the most simple structure to start with, because again, I don't think any of this is complicated. I think it's very simple. That's different than easy, but I think it's simple. I think it's the who first. So who are they around? Who are they not around? And that's the most simple way I define all these things is like you got both sides. You got both sides of anything. You want to define what you want and what you don't want, right? So you got to define it and you got to fence it. Put a fence over here saying this is what I don't. So it comes down to the people first. So who are the people I want around? It's input output. Who are the people I want around me? Who are the people I want around my kids? Who are the people I do not want around me and I do not want around my kids? And it's not because I don't love them or care for them or think something's wrong with them or I have the ability to have exert some control over that, and that matters. That's what a patriarch does, right? You take the lead on that. And again, it's not anything negative. It's not saying, but truth be told, if you know somebody is a, bad person, gang member, got a bad history, you're not just going to invite them over to come and hang out and live with you for a while. Like it's common. None of what I'm saying is what it's common sense. So that matters. Who are they around? It's the who first. And and then the what. So like what other inputs, outputs? What kind of inputs do I want them to have? Meaning anything they're consuming. And consuming can be food, consuming can be television, consuming can be media, consuming can be music, consuming anything they're consuming. What are the things that I think are positive things to consume? And what are the things to stay away from? Right? So those inputs, the people and then the consumption, that stuff, Matt, like control that first. Those are the things that we tend to culturally not really control at all. We want to get down to like the super itty bitty schedule, granular stuff first to try to control. And that's fine. Control those big things first. And then you can find a daily structure of like, okay, cool. What are the responsibilities that they take on? What are they creating? What are they going after? What kind of things do they want to learn? How do we most efficiently learn it? How do we set up a daily flow or daily rhythm for our family so that everybody has time to pursue their individual calling. And then we all have time to come back together and be this family unit that is checking in and going forward. So I think there is something very much to schedules and daily rhythms and all, very much so. But we start with those bigger outputs first, the ins and outs of who's with us and what kind of consuming we are doing or not doing. Mm-hmm. It takes a lot of work, man. And that's what people don't want. That's the big thing people don't want to do is they don't want to put that level of intentionality. It's like, nah, man, you just do what everybody else does, and they'll turn out fine. Like that's the most common poison that everybody accepts. Just do what everybody else is doing. Everybody will turn out fine. I don't believe that's the case, or even if it is, fine sucks. I don't want that either. That's not what I want fine for my family.
I don't want fine. I don't want what common is, especially as I look more and more at the statistics around like anxiety and depression and suicide.
Totally, totally. Those are byproducts. Those are byproducts of not having all the things we were just talking about, right? Like we talk about it culturally, like depression and again, I'm not downplaying it. I don't want anybody to suffer from any of this, but we talk about it now culturally as if it's something that's just like in your pocket. Like, oh God, look, I got depression. Shoot, it was a crapshoot. It was I'm so unlucky. Everything is a chemical imbalance. Everything is uncontrollable and garbage. That's nonsense. It's nonsense. It's a byproduct of likely a whole lot of things, but it's a byproduct of. By the way, so is joy, so is happiness. Those are byproducts. They're not anything to chase. So we set up the structure of humanity to do all the things we're talking about here. Be healthy, consume the right things, stay away from the wrong things, go serve other people. And then the byproducts tend to be joy and happiness, and that comes from a purpose and all of those things, right? It's not like you don't have to actively try to run from these things. You work on living a life that allows you to have those other things.
There's something that just popped up for me that my wife and we were fervently debating last week. And that's this, I'll call it movement that I keep hearing about. And I don't want to just put stuff on public schools, but this movement to portray parents as being too controlling of their kids, and like, who is the parent to make decisions for you? Your peers, especially those who are a little bit older than you, know better what you need than your parents. And unseating the authority, the role of the parent as the one who guides, and handing that more to people who might know better about your kids. What have you seen happening around that? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, again, amazing humans. There are amazing humans who work in our public school systems. There are phenomenal people. There are phenomenal teachers. There are phenomenal administrators. There are phenomenal parents who send their kids to the public institutions. All of those things are very much true. There are also some agendas that play out. There are some agendas that try to sneak into, uh, seed messages like that. And that's why I don't want to play that game, because I don't even understand I don't think anybody can logically get there where they can say, oh, the state knows better or the XYZ knows better. Or the I understand there's bad parents out there. I get that 100%. And that does not mean the state gets to push an agenda on every family. Like that's not the logical conclusion of the fact that there are bad parents, because there's really good ones too. So I choose not to play. I choose not to play that game, and I choose to try to speak to the illogical nature of arguments like that. But I also know some parents want to turn a blind eye and pretend that that's not an agenda that's playing out certain places, and it is, and it has been, and it will continue to be. And so parents really, again, the parents need to be, I think, more diligent than maybe generations in the past, where our parents maybe could assume with a little more rationality that the other people around are going to be on their side too, and everything will just kind of relatively turn out okay. And most people had everything, positive in mind for that. Maybe that was more true past. I don't think that's the case now. And so we can't just assume, just send them somewhere that's sending this other message and everything will be fine. It's provably not. Provably not. Kids these days are hard to control. Kids these days are hard to control. Yeah, not even about control. I see the comment in there. I appreciate the comment. I don't think it's about control. As an adult, for us, it's about self-control. And again, making sure we're living up to our potential for who we can be as humans, and setting an example that inspires the kids. I don't control my children. I have taught them to have their own self-control. I don't discipline my children. I have taught them to be self-disciplined. Again, they're not perfect. I'm not perfect. But there is a very real, true, genuine, peaceful, calm, loving relationship that's there. It's very simple at this point. It's very easy. We talk about anything and everything. There's not a lot of over the top emotion. So there's no control. They're looking to me to lead. They'll ask me my thoughts on things, on how I would approach something. I ask them their thoughts on how they're thinking about approaching things. I have kept enough of the nonsense away from them where they're not distracted. They actually see a lot of distractions for what they are. They understand. I don't have kids I have two teenage girls and I got a young man too who's not quite a teenager yet, but like they don't want social media because they understand their brain doesn't function well enough and they could get sucked in, and it's easy to like, they understand that. We've had those conversations. I don't have to control them. We have a relationship in which that understanding is there. So to me, that's a different deal than control.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I went off
Yeah.
a tangent there from the public school side, but you know, that's a piece of that. And again, that public school side that we're talking about, those agendas. That's when you have an agenda and you got to use propaganda. That's somebody seeking to control something. To me,
And that's why I asked you, because we actually have an apogee opening up in Lake County here. So I didn't share that with you, but I'm so excited about that.
super cool, man. Super cool. Good
I
humor.
wanted to, yeah, yeah. I haven't met anyone over there yet, but I'm looking forward to it. Um, I wanted to ask you that question because I was like, Matt's the guy to bring that up, and
Yeah.
I want to explore the emotional ninja ship. But before that, I am curious, and Ryan and I talked about this the other day,
Yeah.
about discipline, and on this topic that we're on right now. My son's 5, my daughter's 3. My son, he gets a little crazy sometimes.
Sure.
And crazy, and as in he's got these very strong, and I feel them, masculine emotions that my wife doesn't understand. And I don't see it as a need to control him, but rather to help contain that
Yeah.
and guide it.
Right.
Yep.
Yep. That's it.
And so, how have you, and how do you instill that self discipline? Because I don't discipline the kids. We train that self discipline. I'm curious about that.
Yeah, it's a really good question, man, especially with young men. And so that when you got to the end there, you said, how do you guide that, right? And it's that it is directing that, because it's not something you want to squash, right? You don't want to squash that energy. You don't want to squash those like masculine emotions and those tendencies. It's never about squashing that. It is about directing it, and it's about putting the correct boundaries on. And I understand that young boys are not grown men. So I'm saying that to preface what I'm about to say. Like, obviously, that's the case. However, there is a lot to consider if we take a look at our own selves and how we conduct ourselves. So I like to fight. I like physical fighting. I have been a competitive martial artist for a long time. I've kickboxed. I have fought, in the cage. I continue to train. I still go out and train with, help guys for a couple of UFC guys that I help for fight camps. And so I'm 46. I'm not the dude I used to be, but I can still move. I can still fight. I enjoy it. I like it. It is a part of me. I do not go out into any sort of public space and try to start any kind of nonsense. Like that is, I wouldn't net like that is ridiculous. I go out and try to help human beings, right? I save that aggression for where it needs to be directed so that I can still get that part out. And I'll tell you what, when I do that and I stay consistent on my workouts and I consistently get to go punch people and get punched in the face and I am the calmest that I will ever be as long as that's consistent. Our young boys are very, very similar. My young man, I saw that in him very early. Like I could see that in there. Cool. Give him a place to get that out. Got him in martial arts early, got him in other activities, ninja warrior kind of stuff. So he goes and he works that out. He works out on, we have a farm. Like he's outside. He's got things that he can go put, like that energy gets used. It gets directed. It gets positively directed so that he can express it. And then he is very willing to see the other side of it. Like, okay, cool. That's where that gets expressed. It does not get expressed in a restaurant. Does not get expressed when we go to the grocery store. It does not get expressed towards your sisters. It does not get expressed yelling at your mom. It does not. Those are not okay. Those things are not going to happen, right? So when you have that outlet for them, you can more easily exemplify, okay, these are the behaviors that I actually want to see. And I always tell people there's kind of a 6-to-1, 7-to-1 ratio, especially when they're that young. You want to catch them doing something positive 6 to 7 times and express that. And then for every one, kind of correction that you have to give. And the important thing is what we do as parents, what we tend to do is we get it backwards. We'll correct 7 times for every positive thing. And all of our corrections have high energy. We're yelling, we're getting mad. We're like, stop it. What are you doing? All the high energy there. And we catch them doing something well. We're like, oh, that was cool. Right. It needs to be flip flopped. So you want to catch them doing the good stuff. And that's where you go over the top. Like, oh my God, dude, that's what a good man does. Are you like, yes, what you just did right there. Let me tell you this. Most grown men don't do this. Right. But good men, like the kind of men that we want to be and that's what they do. And you just did like, you make that over the top, over and above for a number of years and you front load that. And then when they miss the mark, go ahead, buddy, come here. Cool, man. So look, here's the standard on this. You missed the mark here. I want you to do this instead. Can you go ahead and fix that for me? Right. And you calmly just correct. And it's you just with expectation that they're going to do it. Hey man, just go ahead and fix that for me right here. And this is exactly what I want you to look at. Go ahead and fix it for me. I'm going to watch and make sure. Yep. Cool. You got it. Cool. High five. Right. And you make it cool, calm, and collected. You get that ratio right and you front load it. Now I'm talking the first 5, 6, 7 years of their life. You front load the hell out of that. Do you know how easy it is to have your kids around afterwards? Do you know how easy it is to go anywhere? Do you know how much other people will be like, what is going on with your children? All because you front loaded that and you taught them to be comfortable and how to interact with society. You gave them those outlets. Do you understand? Like, it's a lot of work up front, but it is so simple. And again, nothing's perfect. They'll still make mistakes. You'll still make mistakes, but it's so much faster and easier and more simple to correct afterwards because you haven't messed up the underlying foundation. It's cosmetic at that point.
My son's obsessed with David, and that's perfect character for him to be obsessed with for me right now. Angel Productions put out the David movie back, I think, last winter, and we saw that, and it's just been on fire for David since then. And so that is one of the things that I'll call him out. That was really brave. That was really courageous, just like David. And he's like, Dad, was that like David? And that's one of the things that he's 5 that I love is I have a positive model for him to look at and to help hold him to, and then give him something tangible that he can touch, he can feel, he can see, he knows what that means. I love the calling out the positive behaviors. And we try. It's something that we're not great at all the time too, because sometimes life gets crazy, it gets stressful, and you have that heated overreaction to the negative, but you don't always call out the positive. One of my favorite things to do with them is to do positive gossip about them.
Yeah.
Like I'll get to get home at the end of the day and my wife's like, oh, let me tell you about this thing that Theo did today at school, or this thing that he did for his little sister today. And they hear that stuff and they hold on to that stuff and they ingrain that stuff.
Big time.
And I love the just addressing it. There doesn't need to be a big emotion about it, just addressing the behavior directly. Like, hey, here's the thing that happened. Here's what I need to happen. Can you make that right?
That's right. And again, like it's almost in a dismissive fashion of just like, look, man, I know you didn't mean to do that. Right. And so you didn't mean to do that. And this is the standard over here. Or maybe I just didn't teach you, well, maybe it was a bad day. We all have bad days. Cool. Sweet. I know you're going to fix it. And I know we'll do better next time. And let's make sure we define what fix it means. What does fix it look like? Here you go. And if I can give a story to them in those moments too, to let them know, hey man, I did the same, or I've done the same, or here's what that looked like for me. I did the same thing when I was a kid, or I did the same thing as an adult, and here's what I did, but here's how I fixed it, and here's how I made sure to never do it again. Or you can attach it to a favorite, somebody from the Bible. You can attach, David. All right. So David did the same, with Bathsheba, like he messed up, and God was like, dude, you're like a little bit of a mess, right? Like you're right with me, and that's why I love that relationship that you laid out too, because you can put that out there. God's always like, hey man, David, you're right with me. Like you're not a good guy. You're not a good guy all the time. You're kind of an idiot. Like you're kind of a mess, but you're always right with me, right? I love that relationship there because for our kids, that's a great example. But if you can relate, their trials, their tribulations, mistakes to other stories or people from your childhood or fictional stories. That's why I love reading as part of education, right? It's like you can take these fictional stories and be like, look, see what they like. There's lessons to be learned here. It's okay, right? You're not the only one that's ever made this. No big deal. Here's how we fix it, and here's how we just move forward, right? You give it that kind of energy, and then the big energy is saved for all the great stuff that you want to super reinforce. Again, not over the top stupid where they're like, okay, you're making this up, right? Genuinely jump it. Man, you set a foundation, man. You set a foundation. You won't do it perfectly all the time. And you can start now. I've said this before, and I've had people be like, well, I haven't done this, and my kid's 7, and so I guess we're screwed. It's like, no, just start now. Start now. And if they did something recently too, you can go back upstairs right now and go, hey, man, you know what? I was thinking about that. I saw what you did last week. Like, there's no time limit. Ideally, sure, if you catch them in the moment, that's the ideal, of course. But you can go back and go, hey, man, that was a big deal, right? Like, you can start front loading that now. The whole point is just doing the work on it.
It makes me think of the fitness principle, the specific adaptations to imposed demands.
Yeah.
You're consistently celebrating the positive qualities that you see, and you're more likely to ingrain those.
Yeah.
And then when something is wrong, we calmly, I love you anyway. We're going to fix this. Can you fix that? Great. Awesome.
Yeah. But that's exactly it. It's calmly, and we're going to fix it. And you can give them a little bit of a why if you think that helps. Like, that's great. But you don't balk on it, though. If it's something needs to be fixed, it's not like, oh, maybe, honey, maybe we should go. I would like you to, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Stop it. Stop it. Like, all that stuff is that's not going to actually be. It's like, no, here's a standard. I love you, and we're going to hit the standard. That's what our family does. Right now, again, this goes back to what we said at the beginning. If I'm trying to set this expectation and set this standard, but even in their 5-year-old, 7-year-old, 10-year-old, 12-year-old mind, they can go, my dad doesn't live this way. And it's all for nothing. Right? Because they see the hypocrisy there. So as long as you are living up to that standard too, it doesn't have to be more complicated than that. It has to be consistent. It just doesn't have to be complicated.
When we're our final countdown here before I send you out of here.
No worries.
If there's one thing that you could send not just the guys, but the parents that are here listening out of here with, one thing that they could start doing this week, what would that be?
It's a really good question. I would impart on them. Curiosity might be the right word for this, because getting curious about who you want your child to be and where you are not hitting the mark for yourself personally, as far as like bridging that gap and providing that example, allowing yourself to be curious enough to come to a hard conclusion where you go, this is where I'm not stepping up. Allowing yourself to be curious enough to go, here's where I've been disillusioned, or here's the work I need to do, or here, like, allow yourself to actually ask yourself the hard questions. Don't beat yourself up over it. Find the answer and then start moving towards it, and start exemplifying that. That for me would be the big thing. Because I think a lot of times where adults have an issue is they don't want to take a look under the hood when they know for a fact the check engine light's been on for 2. So allow yourself to be brave enough to be curious. If I could give parents, I guess maybe that's even better than curiosity. It's the bravery to be curious to play with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the things that I encountered within myself that's what woke me up, and that I see in the guys that I work with as well, is we know that check engine light's on, but we're like, I got to get to my destination, so I'm just going to keep driving this car until it starts flashing, until the car starts shaking, until there's something big that happens to you, whether it's something physically with your health, something mentally and emotionally, something in your marriage, something financially, something to one of your kids, whatever that might be. It's really easy to ignore it because we're so mission oriented that we're like, I got to get this thing done.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if something's wrong in here, that we push it. And if we get to that point, it's not just us, it's our whole family, it's our wife, it's our kids, and it extends beyond that are going to be affected.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly it, man. I mean, I went through that checklist smart. So I told you, you and I chatted real quick before we jumped on here. So I told you, like, we woke up this morning to no water. And so we have a well. We have 2 wells on our property, but 1 well for the house, 1 for the pasture. And so woke up to no water. So I still got to go figure out what's going on. And we started doing some troubleshooting this morning, turning off certain pipes and turning it to see what's going on. We did enough tests where it looks like maybe it's the pump itself. But I started going through so we've got to fix that right now. But I started going through the checklist in my head too of like, shoot, were there any warning signs? Was there anything I should have checked prior to this? Right. I don't want to always be the guy that it just addresses the end symptom. Right. I want to take a look at what was the root cause. So I've got to go back and go, did I mess something up? Did I not do something that could have prevented us from waking up this morning without water? Like, did I mess this up somewhere? Did I miss something? I want to go back through and discover that. I don't know the answer yet. And it's not what I want to spend my time on today by any stretch of the imagination. However, it is currently a very important thing, right? We need the water, but I also need to get it fixed. And I need to see, how do I make sure this doesn't happen again? The same thing we're talking about here. At some point, something's going to break. If you're not being brave enough to be curious, something is going to break. So why not be brave enough to be curious now and try to get ahead of all this so that nothing has to break? It doesn't become an emergency, because then you got to go back and take a look at it anyway. So same thing. Pump. No, not at all, man. But it's great. I'm excited about this. I always love having these conversations. I'm always hopeful and prayerful that it helps, get one person to turn some things around, man.
Mm-hmm.
Right? To actually turn some things around, not turn some things around for 24 hours. To actually turn some things around. And if we can come together and we can change the trajectory for one person and one family and one bloodline, well, I think that's a job well done.
There's a job well done. It's far, far beyond that, man.
Yep.
Well, Matt, thanks for being here today. Guys, if you're listening right now, or you're listening after the fact, come see Matt at the Patriarch Summit, September 11th, 12th, 13th. We're going to have Matt. We're going to have Ryan Mickler, Pat Barb, Nate Feathers, Daniel Gross, Gabriel Mira, Seth Allen, myself. It's going to be an awesome time. Going all in on reviving fatherhood and family and moral leadership, tackling the 6 battlefronts that most men are struggling on. And maybe that check engine light is on and you've been ignoring it, whether that's self with your own physical, mental, emotional health, your marriage, your money, your finances, your fathering, how you're leading outside in the world, as well as your faith. September 11th, 12th, 13th. We'd love to see you there. $17. It's nothing. If you want the recordings for life, as well as access to giveaways from speakers and sponsors, $47. Also, pretty much no brainer if you're going to change your life and your bloodline. That's it.
Amen.
Thanks for being here, brother.
Thanks, brother. Good to see you.
Go get that thing fixed.
Yeah, we're gonna go fix it. Take care. We'll fix it.
Bye, Matt. Thank you.
Later, bud.